Have you ever had one of those light bulb moments at work? A brilliant idea, but then you hit a wall trying to convince everyone else it's worth it? Well, we're about to look at a framework that doesn't just hope for success, it actually builds a roadmap to get to there. And, believe it or not, the whole thing starts with something you probably have in your kitchen.
Yep, a simple, humble microwave cake. It's fast, it's easy, it's cake in a cup. But what if I told you this little dessert was the key to a massive business win?
So this is the big question, right? How on earth does a cake do all that? This is way more than a story about dessert. It's actually a powerful blueprint for turning just about any goal you have into a success you can actually measure. So let's dig in.
Okay, so our story kicks off at a company called Green Food Networks, and we're going to follow a product manager named Abby Davis. Now, Abby really believed in her company's mission to be more eco-friendly, and she had an idea that started with their most popular product.
So here's the situation Abby's in. She wants to ditch the old plastic cups for her dessert and switch to these new, much more sustainable bowls. Awesome idea, right? The problem, the new stuff costs 50% more. That is a really tough sell to any boss. But Abby was convinced this wasn't just some feel-good project, it was a smart investment. She just had to prove it.
And this, right here, is where things get really smart. Look at this plan. Abby didn't just launch the new packaging and hope for the best. No, she built a chain of success, like a set of dominoes. She started with her input, the test launch itself. From there, she set a clear target for each step. First, get a positive reaction. Then make sure people were actually learning why it was better. Then get them to take action, like using a coupon. And all of that would hopefully lead to real business impact and a solid ROI. See? Every single step was a goal to be measured.
So how did it go? Well, the results were just incredible. Remember her goal for return on investment? A respectable 25%. What she actually got was a whopping 350%.
And what about the environmental side of things? Well, the new bowls were on track to cut out 15,000 pounds of plastic waste. Not just once, every single year.
And that 50% price hike that was supposed to be the big deal breaker? Get this, the project actually ended up saving the company $25,000 a year. Abby didn't just make her case, she created a huge win for the business and for the planet. So Abby's success wasn't just luck, it was all by design, thanks to this really powerful 6-level framework. Let's break down exactly what these levels are and see how they all fit together. Everything starts at level 0, input. You can think of this as your foundation. It's everything you put into the project, who you're targeting, how much you're spending, your timing, your core message. If you get this stuff wrong, the whole thing can just fall flat right out of the gate. Next up, level 1, reaction. This is your first big test. Did people even notice? Do they care? You're looking for that gut feeling, that immediate response. You know, if people are just shrugging their shoulders, you're dead in the water.
Then comes level 2, which is all about learning. Okay, so you got their attention, great. But did they actually understand what you were trying to tell them? Can they remember the main points? For Abby, this was crucial. Did people get why the new bowl was a big deal? Because if they don't learn, they're not going to act.
And that brings us to level 3, action. This is where things really start to shift. You're turning that knowledge into actual behavior. Now, we're not talking about the final sale just yet. This is about those critical steps in between. Things like grabbing a sample, clicking on a link, using a coupon. It's the bridge that takes someone from, oh, that's kind of cool, to, okay, I need to check this out. And all those little actions lead up to level 4, business impact. Now you're speaking the language of the execs. Are we making more money? Are we saving money? Are customers happier? This is where you tie your project directly to the big goals of the entire company.
And finally, we reach the top of the mountain. Level 5, ROI, the ultimate bottom line. You take all the money you made, subtract all the money you spent, and you get one simple, powerful percentage that proves it was all worth it. For Abby, that number was a mind-blowing 350%.
But here's what makes this framework so useful. It's not just for planning success. It's also an amazing diagnostic tool when things go wrong. It helps you figure out why a project is failing.
Let's look at this company, Blake Engineering. They launched a new product, and it was a total flop. But instead of just guessing what went wrong, they used this framework. They saw their action numbers were terrible. Why? Well, they worked backward and found the real problems were at the reaction and learning levels. Turns out, most customers hadn't even heard of the new product. The framework showed them the issue wasn't the marketing campaign, it was that their own sales team didn't know how to sell it. The fix wasn't more ads, it was better internal training. They solved the right problem because they found the real breakdown in the chain.
So what's the magic here? Why is having a structured plan like this so much more effective than just telling your team to, do your best? Well, it actually taps into some pretty basic psychology about how people achieve things. For starters, it's about speaking the right language. When you start talking about business impact and ROI, you are speaking the language of leadership. It immediately shows them you're not just busy doing stuff, you're focused on getting results that actually move the needle for the whole company. And this isn't just a nice idea, it's backed by decades of research called goal-setting theory. The science is totally clear on this. Having a specific, hard goal is way better than just having a vague one. It gives your team a clear destination, it creates focus. It's the difference between telling someone to climb that mountain over there versus just telling them to go for a walk. So let's bring this all back to you. What does this mean for your work? This framework is really a tool that puts you in the driver's seat. It's how you go from just hoping something will work out to actually engineering its success.
So I want you to think about the next big project on your plate. You probably know where you want to end up, that big, awesome impact you want to make. But do you know the steps to get there? What are the reactions, the learnings, and the actions that will pave the way? Don't just plan what you're going to do. Plan the entire chain of success, one level at a time.